Hi there, and welcome to the Knit Fi podcast. Here in 2024, I'll be bringing you 5 gigahertz of yarn. I have tried to podcast in the past, and I ended up taking those videos down, so if you've seen them, they really are gone. And it was just because I really wasn't all that comfortable in front of the camera. Now I've found a way to reach out to the knitting community without being directly in front of the camera. I started knitting in 2015 after learning to crochet, and in this podcast, I'll share my thoughts and plans for everything there is to make, whether knit, sewn, quilted, crocheted, or whatever else it is that I come by. One of my biggest goals this year is to knit 24 things in 2024. I got this idea from booktubers who are planning to read 24 books in 2024. Of course, I do want to try that too, but I don't have a mood board for it. I really don't know if I've ever knit this much because I've always tried to just knit things as they occur to me to knit. But now I have a stash and I need to use it up. Having a plan has always been the best way for me to get things done. So let's cast on together and make some wonderful things this year. I have used a free Canva account to make a mood board to organize and visualize my plans. Let's check it out. First up is The Gib by Andrea Mowry. Now, I really was drawn to this because of the texture and the high neckline. I want to make one for myself, but I also want to make one for my husband. So here it is over here on The Gib too. Now, she does say that this one has less shaping so that it is easier to fit a more even chest to waist ratio. So this might be better to work with pattern wise and just have the different patterns for the different body shapes. Now, I also don't generally like shaping on my sweaters, so I might just get this one and make 2 of them out of it. We'll see though. The intent is that 2 sweaters come out of at least one of those patterns. Next up is the dragon pattern from the Knit-A-Teddy or Knittables shop. Now, I really like this designer. Her name is Sarah. She speaks in some of her earlier YouTube videos about her inspiration, and on her website, she talks about her mother-in-law and where she lives here in Wales. Yes, here we go. She has really wonderful variation in her patterns, as well as clothing and other options for dressing up and playing with these animals. And I do believe that she mentioned a lot of the proceeds go to a charitable purpose. I think it's a hospital. So it's really just wonderful. A wonderful feeling to have to contribute to just her keeping on. Also because of what I was initially drawn to her patterns for. Now, I was drawn to the basic teddy bear pattern. My daughter was young and I wanted to make her a teddy bear. I didn't like the look of crochet, even though I was very capable of doing that, and I wanted to knit a classic teddy bear. I could not find a pattern like that anywhere, and I stumbled across hers. Now, I did find her patterns to be very reasonably priced, but I did not like that they were knit flat. I did find a way to work into knitting them in the round. It was very easy to do because the patterns are so well written. Now, if you do get her patterns, I recommend using a software like Knit Companion, which allows you to do a digital line-by-line highlight, which this is something I would like to try to do another time, is a sort of overview of what Knit Companion is like and how I use it, just because it's such a useful tool that I did go ahead and purchase the extended version, I guess, of the software. Now, that is a total sidetrack, but I say that because a lot of her patterns are written line by line, doing increases and trying to keep track of where you are can get a little bit difficult. So either you'll probably be making a lot of notes on physical paper or using some kind of note-taking software to make sure that you are staying on track. before I forget about the modifications to the dragon pattern that I intended to make, or do intend to make this year. My daughter is a big fan of the Mario series of video games. She just received Mario Wonder, and now she wants her very own Yoshi. Now, if you are familiar with the Yoshi character, there we go, they have a very similar body structure, which is why I chose this pattern as the basis for the toy that she's requested. Now, we won't be making wings, but we do need the spine ridges, and I'm not sure if we need the ears. There will be some color work being added into the mouth and cheek area, and I will be changing up the colors a little bit because she wants her Yoshi to be pink with purple. And then I'll also be delving into the Knittables patterns to find some shoes for her Yoshi. Next up on my list is the Marcasite sweater by Valley Yarns. Now this has actually been in my stash for quite a while. This is one of those that would be the super cozy work from home sweater that I have been dreaming of. Now it looks like it has some texturing throughout the sweater. Perhaps that's shaping. I'm going to have to find out. But it's got a textured cuff and hem and a cowl collar. That should make it super cozy while I'm sitting in this frigid office of mine. But the loose ends here will make it so much more comfortable to move around in, I feel like. I don't like restrictive clothing. Not that normal ribbed cuffs are particularly restrictive, but I think I like the decorative element as well. So I'm excited to get started on that. After that is a sweater that will be a remake for me. I was able to test knit this sweater for Mina. I used her spreadsheet pattern, but the PDF pattern is also available. One of the things I love about Mina's patterns is that she uses a pay what you can structure, and so she has these permanent codes assigned to her patterns to allow people of every financial capability to participate in knitting as well as she can. Now, because she makes her living off designing, I prefer to pay full price whenever I can, which has made me feel good about contributing to her patterns and hopefully keeping her designing, because that would make me very happy because I enjoy making her clothes. Now it is a circular yoke sweater. This is my project. I knit it with the Knit Picks Capra yarn, and I did not post all of my photos on Ravelry, but a lot of them went on Instagram. Now when I did this, I chose to add some extra ease to the sweater, which sort of did and did not work out, mostly because I did not intend to have quite as much ease as I ended up with. Now, most people knit it to a size that fit, which is wonderful. I did not, so mine has come out more like a swancho than it has a sweater. The armhole divide is a lot closer to my elbow than I was prepared for, but it has made a really, really, really warm and cozy snuggle up sweater, which works out for me because that's what I wanted it for. Now, the Knit Picks Capra is quite expensive, so I'm looking forward to knitting it again in something that's a little more reasonably priced. My next sweater is going to be a husband sweater. This is the Treeline sweater with all of the cabled texture in this, and the appears to be sewn on sleeves. I'm hoping that it will be fairly easy to do. Looking at this chart though, it may not be sewn on sleeves. We'll have to find out. But with the snug collar up at the top and the moderate fit, I think he's really going to enjoy it. Now, what yarn I'm going to use in order to make this is a whole nother story, because I don't think I have anything set aside in worsted weight for him. I'm also not 100% sure he would wear it if I made it in worsted weight. Now, this is one of those nitpicks exclusive patterns, which do tend to go on sale at least once a year. And that's when I recommend picking it up, mostly because that's the best deal you can get on a really good pattern, and everyone likes deals. Next up on my list is going to be the Garden Gnome Hoodie by Mina Phillip. Now, this is another one of those that's made for kids. It's in worsted weight, so it should be a very quick knit, or at least reasonably quick. Now, I have in the past made the Little Forager sweater by Mina Phillip, so I'm somewhat familiar with her designs and design for children. Now, she did make this up to 10 to 12-year-old size for children, and that is just perfect because that means I can knit one for each of my kids. I love how she took the hood into a little point and added a pom-pom at the top. That is why she called it the Garden Gnome's Hoodie, if I remember right from that vlog back in the day when this came out. This is a few-year-old pattern, but it's got some great texturing, and I'm very excited to knit this pattern. Next up on my list is actually the first one I'm going to be knitting. This is the Last Unicorn Sweater by Bad Wolf Girl Studios. My daughter picked this out when I took her to a local yarn store here in Oklahoma. It was called Christie's Fiber Arts, and it's in Edmond. We opted to do the purple sweater, but she wants pink unicorns in addition to the rainbows and the blue and purple hearts on the yoke. I'm very excited because this will probably also go quickly. We are making it in a, I believe, DK weight sweater, or DK weight yarn, and I love color work because it makes things go fast, and she's excited because it has unicorns and rainbows, and that makes her happy. Next up on my list is one of my favorite patterns. This is actually the Little Hugkins pattern by Lorraine Pistorio. Now, she is Rainbow Designs on Ravelry, and she has designed these adorable little cuties. Now, I will be embroidering the eyes and the other facial features of any that I do make. I have finally gotten the Shibji's Color Crafter, which is staring at me from my stash right now, daring me to use it. I think that this is an excellent bang for your buck, mostly because you pay $4 and you get the variations for all of these animals. Now, they do have the same basic body shape, as you can see, and different facial features, and there are actually at least 2 different face shapes here. I'm not sure how easy it is to tell just from the view here. A lot of the time you will see the same exact face shape with a few facial features added, so this is really a steal if you're looking to make toys. Now, I enjoyed making this pattern specifically for a Baby Yoda or a Grogu. We were watching The Mandalorian, and this guy, he's just so cute, I had to try. So I used the Rainbow Designs pattern for the body. I winged the shawl and the robe, based sort of on general construction shaping, and then I made the ears based on what I thought I would need. I drew out the shape, and then I kind of guesstimated. I did know I needed to decrease slower than I increased in order to get this bat wing kind of shape, and I think it worked out pretty well. Now, these do have short row shaping so that they will sit. They are all made to sit, and I used Caron 1-pound yarn. Now, here we are several years later, 2023 from 2019, and this has become a very fuzzy but sturdy toy. The kind of stuffing, I think I used Fiberfill, has condensed. I should probably fluff that up a little bit, but maybe not a whole lot. It's been through the dryer a few times. And I learned my lesson with safety eyes on this one. Mostly they did not break, but they have chipped and some of the paint has come off the outside. I sealed it with enamel and we're trying to not let it go back in the dryer, but that doesn't seem to always hold up. Now, I used Caron 1 pound for the yarn, for the body and the clothing, the shawl, but it has not held up as well as one might expect a hard-wearing acrylic to, and I wonder if that has to do with the care that we've taken, or if that's just how the yarn behaves. Next up on my list is the Harley pullover. Now, if you were looking closely at the Marcus site, you'll see a lot of similar features here in the Harley. For example, the textured cowl collar, the hem, and the cuffs. And the cable details are really just captivating. So I feel like this will be a nice balance between femininity and coziness for that work from home vibe that I am striving for, because I don't want to go back to the office. However, it does look nice and will probably fit right in the office. The next one on my list is the February hat by Kelbourne Woolens. This came originally as part of an email knit-along list. However, I feel like I've jinxed myself with knit-alongs, and in the past 5 years that I have signed up for knit-alongs, year-long knit-alongs, I have moved a total of 5 times. So in order to break that jinx, I am not going to sign up for any knit-alongs and just use previous knit-along patterns until I catch back up. This is in worsted weight yarn, and I'm really looking forward to doing it because this is a smaller project than all of these sweaters that I have lined up. Next up is yet another Mina Phillip design, one of her earlier ones, and it is called the Changes Shawl. I had originally made this shawl out of a collection of yarn I picked up at the Dallas-Fort Worth Fiber Festival. Now, I haven't seen a lot of activity on this shawl in the past couple of years, and I wonder if it's sort of fallen off the radar, and I'm hoping to bring it back in because it's such a cool pattern. I haven't seen textures like this come out in patterns in a few years, but there are a lot of people who are really excited about making it when it first came out, myself included. Here is my shawl, where I mentioned I was at the Dallas-Fort Worth Fiber Festival, and I picked up these beautiful jewel tone yarns. Now, I'm going to have to dig up a blog post where I had listed out all of the yarns that I was using, and I do remember that this is a Madeline Tosh yarn, but the rest were from an indie dyer who I met at the festival. She set me up with the most beautiful skeins of yarn that I have ever seen, and then putting them against the silk gray square in the middle, it really just set it off. Now, over the holidays, I had some help with my laundry, and someone put my shawl in the dryer. It felted the ends, and it's no longer the big, loose, cozy shawl that it once was. So it's about time to celebrate what it was and make a new one, because I have worn it so much that I didn't realize how much I would miss it. So that, of course, is on my list. Next up is going to be tiny sweaters for everyone I know. Now, these holiday stocking and sweater ornaments are a Knit Picks pattern in fingering weight, and I'm looking forward to this holiday season, or this next holiday season, when I can tell everyone that I made sweaters for them without asking for their measurements. Up next is the Lush by Tin Can Knits. Now, this is constructed in a very fun way. You start with the lace yoke and you work up and down from it. I thought that was an interesting construction when I first made it for my daughter, and I made it in a linen linen yarn, linen and rayon, I believe. It was pretty, it blocked well, but it did not fit well. As you can see, the collar was far too loose, the button band was unstable and couldn't hold the buttons, and it just overall was sort of a disaster. It didn't end up getting worn very often, but I think if I did this again in wool, she will find lots of reasons to wear it. So I am excited to give her something that she can wear. I may even knit one for myself. Next up is the Afloat by Wild Prairie Knits. I received this as a part of a Stunning String Studio kit along with a bag, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that works out. I haven't knit more than a couple of the patterns I received in this subscription. It was a kit subscription I received a few years ago, and because of the move, I'm honestly not sure if I got all of my kits forwarded to me from my old address. Next on my list is the Flax by Tin Can Knits. I plan on knitting it in an infant size, mostly because I've knit lots of hats, but I haven't yet knit a single sweater for my son. This is a free pattern that's part of the Simple collection on Tin Can Knits, and while it's a lot of fun, it will hopefully be very quick, and I'm looking forward to getting it done very quickly. Now, Tin Can Knits has also generated an app, and I'm looking forward to using it on my iPad. I believe you can get it on the App Store or on Google Play, so it is Android compatible as well. And I'm going to give it a try with the new system of plug and play. Working in IT, that's always an appealing aspect. Next up on my list is the Weekender sweater. Now, I have watched a lot of people knit it and talk about knitting it, and I am curious if I could make something similar inspired by the Weekender without purchasing the pattern. So I do plan on giving that a try. Now, I don't claim to be a good designer by any means, but I think I understand the concept of some of the boxy shape and the slip stitch pattern down the front. And of course, I won't be selling my own version of the Weekender because that just doesn't make any sense. Why would I copy someone and then try to sell it? But I do want to try for my own intellectual curiosity. I do want to try reconstructing that just based on what I see. Next up on my list is the Gib 2, which we've already talked about because it has less body shaping than the Gib. She has published 2 separate patterns. The next pattern on my list isn't the pattern that we're used to. This is more of a recipe book that I purchased from Mina Phillip, or the Knitting Expat. She has done a wonderful job. I've read through the book of describing how to determine the shape, whether you want an infinity scarf that you loop around or if you want a tubular cowl. And then here is an extended tubular cowl. She explains how they work together to make different looks. And then she gives you different patterns, different colorwork patterns that you can then incorporate into that knowledge. Mina has adapted into a far more mathematical approach and recipe approach to her patterns lately, and I am here for it. Last but not least that I actually have listed is the Hue Shift blanket from Knit Picks. Now, this is a pretty famous blanket by now. I'm sure everyone has heard of at least some of it because it is mitered squares with a color shifting pattern, and I'm only about a quarter of the way through. I think I started with the second quadrant, but I'm not sure. But I'm really looking forward to having this one done and saying that I have knit a blanket. As you can see here, I have 5 blank spots for my 24 knits in 2024, and that's where you come in. I'm looking for my viewers to fill in the blanks and help me decide the last 5 knits that I will knit in 2024. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll join me in my next one, where we cast on our first of the 24 knits in 2024. Have a great day.